Yo, what's going on, guys? KrispyFlakes here. For today's video, we are doing an NBA tier ranking list. So you might be wondering, Crispy, what are we doing it about? Well, you probably saw the title of the video, so I'm going to guess you have a pretty good guess out there. Basically, we have the best young asset from every single NBA team, at least according to this list. I mean, I'm sure there's definitely arguments to be made about there, like, for example, Jaren Jackson or John Morant, you know what I'm saying? So, yes, we are going to be ranking all these guys based off of if I think they are a future franchise player, an all-star, a solid NBA starter, or just a rotational piece, or a bench warmer / out of the league in a few seasons, guys. So if you all could do me a quick favor and please drop a like on this video, really does help to grow the channel, man. Trying to get to 1,000 likes. And as always, man, remember, like, if you disagree with me about something, that's totally understandable. There is no chance we are always going to agree on everything. So, do me a favor, man, hit that like button anyway, just because, like, we don't need no negativity up in here. And if you do disagree, let me know in the comment section below why, because I'm very curious, man, because let me say, I am definitely totally open to be changing my thoughts and opinions on some of these guys. So yeah, when I do these rankings, I don't do any like research or planning ahead of time, just because like I want it to be as if like this is my first initial thought when I see this specific player, you know what I'm saying, man? So here we go. Let's go ahead. Hopefully I know every single player on this list, but it should be good, man. First one we have is Aaron Holiday, a point guard for the Indiana Pacers. In my opinion, guys, I really actually liked him out. I believe it was UCLA he went to, right? He was really good scorer in college. I thought he was going to bring that same kind of mindset over to the NBA. I still think, he'll get there eventually. I don't know if I ever see him as like a solid starter, but I do see him as somebody that can come off your bench, maybe give you like 10 points and 5 assists per game. So I'm going to say for right now he's a rotational piece, but if he really lives up to his potential, he could become a solid starter in the future, man. But I think rotational piece sounds about right. For Ben Simmons, this one is interesting. I love Ben Simmons. Like, I understand we roast him because of his jump shot. It's fine. Like, he's just a meme at this point about that. I don't ever see him as, like, the number one option on a championship team. Because for me, like, when I think of the 76ers, I think of Joel Embiid. And I think that's kind of like Ben Simmons' thing. Like, he doesn't want to be the number one option. With his passing and dribbling abilities, he wants another star out there that he can get the ball to. So I think he makes a great Robin. I don't know if I ever see him being a Batman. I think he's more of an all-star player than a franchise player. And keep in mind, guys, these franchise players, like, these are the number one options. These are the teams that, you build around these specific players. You know what I'm saying? Next up, we got Daniel House. So, last year, he averaged like 10 points, had a few rebounds out there. I was very happy to see him get himself a contract. With his defense and three-point shooting abilities, I think he probably has a career as a solid starter. Like, he's always going to be one of those guys that are like high in demand, one of those, small forwards that can probably play other positions out there too, defend multiple positions. And it's like, no, he's never going to be like a superstar, an all-star caliber player, but he's going to be the type of guy you want in your lineup, around like the Giannis's or the LeBron James or the James Hardens, all those guys out there. So yeah, man. Next up, we got Darius Garland. Not gonna lie, I don't know too much about him, man. Like, I know he had like injuries and stuff like that. I know the potential is definitely there. I think I have to see him play first and see how he is, like, post injury and just not really playing a lot of college basketball. So I think for now you gotta say solid starter, but that's solely just based off of I don't know where he's at health wise, or really just playing against like elite NBA basketball competition. So I think solid starter is best for him right now. DeAaron Fox. I like everything about DeAaron Fox. Like, I cannot think of a single hiccup in his game where I'm just like, no, man. I think DeAaron Fox is going to be like a top 5 point guard sooner rather than later in the league. And I think for that reason, he is the type of franchise player that you build around. It's like, okay, who can we put alongside De'Aaron Fox to get our team to the next level? Because you got like Marvin Bagley and Buddy Hield, like those are really good, like just star caliber players. But I think it's De'Aaron Fox that you focus the franchise on. So I'm going to say franchise player. I think that's the future of De'Aaron Fox, man. And, I know I can already see people saying, like, oh, how you got De'Aaron Fox over Ben Simmons? You can't think of it from a skill standpoint. Like, it's okay to think that Ben Simmons is a better basketball player, but you got to think about how they play the game of basketball. I think the way that Ben Simmons plays does not warrant a franchise player, where I think De'Aaron Fox does. Next up, we got DeAndre Ayton. I'm going to say he is probably a future all-star. Now he definitely can be like a Karl-Anthony Towns type of center, but at the same time, while Cat is the franchise player for the Timberwolves, they're not really winning games. So it almost brings the argument, is he really a franchise player? I think DeAndre Ayton will probably have that same issue, where it's just like, I think we're kind of away in the league where like the center can be like the Shaquille O'Neals or the Wilt Chamberlains, where it's just like thinking like, carry your franchise. Like, you really need a good guard or small forward out there these days, and you're not going to get away with just having a really good center. So I think DeAndre Ayton will never be the franchise player, but I think he will always be an amazing number 2 option on a championship team, guys. Now, if you want to say franchise on like the damn Phoenix Suns and they don't do anything else, but even that's like, he's not the franchise player. Devin Booker is. So that's just my example right there. We got Derek White. Okay, so I definitely got to see some more out of him going forward, but I do think he'll end up being a solid starter in the league. He'll never be like the top 10 point guard of any team, of like any season or nothing like that, but I kind of put him in that same realm as just like, you know, the Ricky Rubios, the Darren Collisons, although he's retired, the Reggie Jacksons, where it's just like, okay, these guys are good enough. Like, they definitely deserve to be a starting point guard. It's just they're not Stephen Curry, so not a lot of players are, though. Next up, we got Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, to me, is a franchise player. Once again, I hear the Ben Simmons fans getting pissed off about this, but I think Donovan Mitchell is just exactly what you want out of your 2 guard in this era of basketball. And as he grows up and gets more mature and, you know, gets knocked down a few times in the playoffs, eventually all that's going to come together, and you are going to see probably will end up being a top 2 shooting guard in the league eventually, man. I think we'll get there. You got Dante DiVincenzo. Probably butchered his name. I always butcher his last name. I just remember we did in Michigan, so I don't like him. But I do think he'll end up being a good rotational piece in the league. I don't really ever see him being the starter, but it's just somebody that comes off your bench and, you know, can do a little bit of work. Jamal Murray. He's an all-star. He'll definitely be an all-star. He'll make an all-star team eventually. And, you know, he's already got that max contract. He's a good second option to Jokic. I just don't ever see him being the franchise player, the number 1 option. Jaren Jackson. I like his shot blocking. It's just his defense in general. I think his rebounding needs a little bit of work. But his like shooting stats are always good and everything. Well, you'd say were good, you know, in the limited amount we've actually got to see him. I'm going to say he's a future all-star. I think Jaren Jackson has the tools to be a future all-star here in the league. Jarrett Allen, will always be a solid starter, although I hope he starts over DeAndre Jordan. Like, I really think he deserves to. His shot blocking, just his just like his feel for defense out there, it's one of those things you really can't teach. So, yeah, we're going to say that for him. We're going to say a solid starter. Okay, so next up we got Jarrett Culver for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I see him as a future all-star shooting guard. Now, you can almost say the same thing as like Darius Garland, where it's like, oh, we haven't really seen him enough, but we did see Jarrett Culver play in college at least. And it's not going to be like anytime soon, but I would say like 5, 6, 7 seasons when he gets like the NBA body a bit more and just has some seasons under his belt. I think he could be an all-star shooting guard. It's like it obviously comes down to who he's playing against, right? All right, next up we got Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum's interesting. I think he has the scoring capabilities to end up being a franchise player. Because I think sometimes it's like, you know, we think about Jayson Tatum right now and we're like, okay, there's no way he's going to like lead the Boston Celtics. That's why they got Kemba Walker. But let's say it's 5 years down the road and Jayson Tatum's what, like 26, however old he'll be, maybe a bit, actually probably younger than that, man. So 5, 6, 7 years down the road when he's like entering his NBA prime, to me he's definitely a franchise player. He'll get there eventually. It's just right now, you know, he's still so young, man. So you can't really ask him to do too much on a contending team. Jonathan Isaac, I see him as a solid starter here in the league. I still think the sky is the limit as far as defense goes. I think his offense is going to come along pretty good. He's got the height. I think he'll be a solid starter. I think he'll deserve to start on any NBA team. We got Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma. I'm debating between all-star and solid starter. I think I'm going to lean to him being a future all-star. He was kind of one of those older rookies, so it's like he kind of like, I don't know, man, like he just had like the years under him a bit more. You know, just playing like some extra college ball and stuff like that. But the scoring there, he just has like that natural scoring ability, which I think will take him far. Now he's not going to be an all-star like within the next like 2 or 3 seasons, because I would say he's going to, as long as the Lakers continue to invest in him, he'll end up becoming like an all-star once LeBron James retires. And let's say it's like you got AD out there with Kyle Kuzma for the next 10 years. It's like eventually I think Kuzma can definitely get there. We got Landry Shamet right here. Probably say solid starter. I was thinking like rotational piece, but you know, I saw some of the things he did on the Clippers. I just think he has really good potential to be a great shooting guard here in the NBA. Don't think he ever makes the All-Star team, but you know, somebody that you can rely on to be that number 2 option. We got Lauri Markkanen. I'm going to say he is a future All-Star in the league. His scoring is great, you know, being a 7-footer. He's got pretty good handles for his height too out there, man. So I mean, I think Chicago Bulls definitely got a good one. Do I think he'll ever be like the number 1 option on the Bulls? I mean, let's just say I hope that does not come down to that, because I think the Bulls just have one of those free agent destinations where, you know, guys are going to want to be able to play the 7-footer with the skill set of Lauri Markkanen out there. So maybe they can go out there and get like a top-notch free agent, a superstar free agent, but I think Lauri is more of like a second option. Next up, we got Luka, definitely a franchise player. We kind of saw that in his rookie season. Just does everything well out there, in my opinion. I think his defense can definitely go up a little bit, but and maybe even his shot selection. But for the most part, yeah, that's somebody you're going to build around. Next, we got Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard to me will be a solid NBA starter. Last year was a 41% three-point shooter. His playmaking's pretty good out there. I think he definitely has like the capabilities to like average like 4 or 5 assists per game. Yeah, his defense is trash, but you know, it's like as long as he's bringing the offense and hustling it out there, you know, trying to grab rebounds and make plays for other guys, taking the ball to the basket, I think he'll be good to go. Miles Bridges. Ooh, let me come back to Miles Bridges, guys. Let me come back to Miles Bridges. Next up, we got Omari Spellman. I've not really seen him play a lot. I know he's had like a few decent games out there, but I've not really seen enough for him to like warrant him being anything in the NBA. As far as like playing, I think he's on the Houston. He's on the Houston Rockets, is he? I don't even know what team he's on these days, man. I'm gonna say eventually he's gonna be a bench warmer out of the league. Now I know there's people out there saying, "Man, you sleeping on Omari Spellman," and trust me, guys, I know what he's capable of doing. I know he's got a pretty good skill set. He very well could end up becoming a rotational piece, but I gotta see him do it for a full season first before I you know, like limit him or like label him as that. Pascal Siakam. So Pascal Siakam's interesting because he's gonna be going into the Raptors next season as the franchise player. I don't like him as a number 1 option. I absolutely love him as a number 2. I absolutely loved him playing like behind Kawhi Leonard. And I just think that's the type of guy he is, where he can literally do everything out there exceptionally well. But when push comes to shove, you definitely want that go-to scorer in the clutch. I don't know if that's going to be Pascal Siakam, at least anytime soon. I see him more as an all-star than like a guy you build around. But I mean, like literally, guys, like top tier number 2 option, as well as Ben Simmons. I would say Ben Simmons also is a top tier number 2 option where you can make the case for the franchise players. Next up, we got Miles Bridges. For now, I'm going to have him as a solid starter. He's not quite blossomed into the player I think he could be. He eventually might be able to show you some signs of a future all-star, but I think for now we'll say solid starter. Next up, we got RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett will be a future, I'm going to say for now, all-star. I got to see him play an entire NBA season before I list him as that franchise player. You know, if we do this video a year from now, yeah, I could definitely say, okay, maybe this guy's got that franchise player potential. But for now, especially being on the New York Knicks, because the Knicks are always going to be one of those teams that are going to be trying to get the Giannis's out there. So, yeah, RJ Barrett, I think one day will be a great number 2 to some superstar out there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm going to say like borderline all-star. I'm going to have him listed as a solid starter for now. My fear with him is that he will do a lot of great things out there for the OKC Thunder. It's just that when it comes down to it, I don't know if he'll ever have like the stat line to maybe outshine some of the other guards in the Western Conference to actually make the All-Star team. So I kind of see him being one of those guys where it's like, okay, man, like every year it's like, man, Shai Gilgeous got snubbed. And maybe eventually he does make 1 or 2 of them, but for now I'm going to say solid starter. Thomas Bryant. I'm going to say rotational piece for Thomas. He'll put up pretty decent numbers on the Washington Wizards. The thing is, though, is that it's not going to lead to W's. Eventually, I see him being like a really, really good backup center on like maybe like a really good team. But, you know, if Thomas Bryant's your starting center, it's like you could always do better than that. He'll be part of the rotation. You can make a case for a solid starter, but I think rotation piece is probably where it's at. Okay, next up we got Trae Young. I'm going to lean towards franchise player. He just does everything you want your point guard to do these days. And I do think, because I'm looking at like some of the other, oh man, this one's tough, guys. This one's tough, because I am looking at like some of the All-Stars that I'm putting like Trae Young ahead of, and I don't know if I feel right about it. You know what, let me come back. I'm going to say All-Star for now. Such a tough one, guys, such a tough one, because like the three-point shooting, the playmaking, just really what he did in his rookie season, really coming to the league where people were kind of doubting him. Man, I see him as somebody you build around, guy. I really do, but All-Star for now. Next up, we got Tyler Herro. Got him as a solid starter. I think eventually he's going to be a really good scoring shooting guard here in the league. I think he's going to be a good all-around guy that can just really bring a lot to your franchise. Don't know if he ever makes the All-Star team. Maybe he makes one of them eventually. I'll see how he kind of puts things together. But he's kind of like my sleeper for Rookie of the Year. I'm not going to lie, man. Like I feel like if you got Jimmy Butler playing that 3 spot, maybe you go with Justice Winslow at the 4, Goran Dragic at the point guard. You got Tyler Herro at the 2. I think he's going to bring some much-needed offense to the Miami Heat. Next up, we got Zack Collins. I like his defense. I'm going to say rotational piece for now. His defense is good. Would like to see him become a little bit of a better shooter here in the league, but somebody that can come in and kind of feel like a niche on your team. You know, sometimes he'll start at power forward. Maybe he'll come off the bench, can play a little bit of center. I see him as a rotational piece. And finally, Zion Williamson. Despite not really seeing him play in the NBA games yet, I think you got to go with the crowd on this one and say franchise player. I think franchise player is probably the wave for Zion. I think he gets there eventually, and he's going to be the guy you build around on the Pelicans. So, overall, I do like my list. I think a lot of people are going to take this list the wrong way, and me saying that some of these franchise players are better than some of these all-star players, definitely not the case. I'm more so looking about how these guys play the game of basketball and how you're able to build around that. So I think for that reason, I'm going to put Trae Young back in the franchise player, and just because I think Trae, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse right here saying it. Like, I don't think that Trae Young right now is better than Pascal Siakam. I don't know if I think, you know, or I don't think Trae Young is necessarily better than, like, Ben Simmons right now. But I think in the long term of things, their skill set is what you build around, man. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this list. We only got one bench warmer out there. A lot of these guys are really good NBA players, so I didn't really think we're going to have a lot out of the league. Even, you know what? Amari Spellman, you can be a rotational piece. You know, let's be nice to the guy today. So, hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Hopefully, you're not too rough on me in the comments. If you are, just let me know why, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to drop that like, subscribe if you're new to the channel. As always, check out the second channel, Extra Crispy, and peace out, my friends.